I just had some downloads on the future of the world, basically. In particular, what's going to happen in the next couple of years. So, okay, how do I start this? From the human design perspective, in 2027, we're going to move into a new era where individuality, being busy with yourself, intimacy and bonding, but authentic bonding, and a connection to the spirit world, most importantly to your spirit, to your soul, to what brings you passion, is going to be so much more important than long-term planning, this old strategic thinking, but it's going to be so much more about reacting in the moment and responding to the opportunities and the impulses, your intuitive impulses that you have. And with that, I also see social media completely changed, that maybe it's going to be taken over by AI as a whole. And because of that, we don't really pay too much attention to it because it's just like mind. We don't really take it serious anymore. And I also see that, you know, how right now, or not that much anymore, but like a couple of years ago, there would be queues in front of the Apple store and people couldn't wait to get the new iPhone. And like that kind of hype what slowly decreased over the past years. And in back in the days, like everyone would have the same Apple charger, the same, that you could just walk into a bar and you'd be like, hey, my phone is dead. Do you have a charger? And the chances that the people working at the bar had that Apple charger was very high. And this is now, and it's because we were all like collectively focused on like similar things, and everything was promoted in a way that we're this global family. Everything is connected and streamlined, and you have television that's all programming us with the same ads and with the same lifestyle. And over the years, we noticed that, okay, it like the past in human design is always around a 400-year cycle. And I cannot go back so far to drizzle out all of the details. So I'm going to stay within the range of my life. But what I'm noticing is that when I was in school, there was a huge focus on learning a skill, then getting good grades, and then going to university and having a job. And obviously at that time, there was also people who wanted to do something different and maybe more creative, or created their own jobs. But that wasn't really known unless you went out in the world and you got inspiration from different cultures, from different people, because the only kind of people you would know would be the ones that you see on the television, like obviously in your personal life, but then beyond that in television, and then maybe even like on YouTube. And then over the years, social media became really big, and then we got so much more information on different kinds of forms of living and lifestyles and jobs, and people created their new job, like completely new jobs. The influencer job is, yeah, it probably existed in a form before, but we weren't aware of it. Okay. And what I'm seeing now is that because this whole globalization, it only worked because we were collectively putting so much emphasis on making everything efficient and making everything work out, like the food chains, piece of infrastructure that is currently there in our society, whether that is to get your food in the grocery stores, whether that is to get yourself from A to B by train, car, using roads, or with the plane. It requires a huge amount of planning, strategizing, and a lot of people have to do jobs in order for this whole system to work. And what I am seeing so much more is that these systems that were so reliable to us, they're starting to crumble. A couple of days ago, we had an internet outage, something with Cloudflare, but like pages like ChatGPT and IKEA and like also the company I work for, that we just didn't have any access to our website anymore because the server was down. And then like flight strikes and things like that. And it's just increasingly the things that we have relied on, that we've taken so much for granted, we were not aware of how many deals, how many agreements have to be upheld for the plane to arrive at the exact time that you're supposed to board, right? And then that everything involved is checked, is maintained, and that you can fly. Basically, the background frequency of the last 400 something years was supporting this global infrastructure of you do this, and then we have food that flies from one side of the world to the other side. And because the background frequency, like the motivation of humanity, is going to shift from this global support system where everyone enters deals, like I give you lemons and then you provide the oranges for me. Okay, maybe not super convenient, but let's shake hands. Let's do that. And one of the things that was happening, like one of the downsides of this, was that we were doing a lot of things just to be efficient, just for things to run smoothly, but the individual needs and the individual authenticity and integrity wasn't really at the forefront, because at the forefront was efficiency and the infrastructures that need to work. And in order for that, we need a clear focus and we need skills and we need everyone to work together. And now in 2027, and we already see this right now, so many people are becoming self-employed, or 1 second, I need to charge my battery. They're becoming self-employed. They don't want to be part of a company anymore that provides the money for them. And because they're not aligned with the values, they're not aligned with the bargains anymore. They're like, I don't want to play this game anymore of selling my integrity, of selling my authenticity just to be able to survive and get money. And the focus of this new era is going to be about individual happiness. What are you excited to do? And it doesn't even have to be a long-term goal. It can just be you wanting to focus on art right now because that's what makes you happy. But it's going to be less about what does the community, what do others want me to do? But where is my intuition guiding me towards? What do I feel pulled to do? And also with that change, the support system, all the benefits, like every era has its pros and its cons. One of the benefits of the current cycle, which is, by the way, called the cross of planning, was that, yes, you maybe didn't have full individual freedom and your individual needs weren't always met, but you had, if you were entering the deals and you were upholding the agreements that were made. For example, you sign a contract with an employer, you give them 40 hours of your time, and in return, you get money. If you were doing that, you were supported. And the same goes for government support. Let's say in Germany, if you pay your taxes and you pay your unemployment taxes, then one of the perks that you were getting was that you were supported in times of unemployment with a monthly amount that you were getting, like unemployment money. And all of these things, like there is support for art projects, there's support for families, there's so many, the government supports or subsidizes, is that what it's called? So many areas of a society so that everything can be efficient and we can work together. And that is slowly also going to go away because that support is not going to be there anymore. And I see this over and over again. For example, both of my sisters have children, but my little sister, she had a baby around 4 or 5 months ago. And it was said, and with the first child that she had, and by the way, they're based in Germany, my niece was still getting, what is it called? Let's call it kids support. And then by the time her second child was born, she was promised that they were going to get kids support, but it would be decreased. And then 2 weeks ago, they announced that the kids support was completely canceled. And all of these little moments, and with that, you can see that the support that we were relying on, that we were maybe even took for granted, like especially when you grew up in Germany or in different parts of the world where you are used to that strong social system, like I think also Scandinavia, you have that. And because of that, you didn't really have to think about what your passions are in life and what your purpose is, who you are and how your intuition works, because the government or like outside authorities made decisions for you that felt safe, and everything was just working. You had a job that paid you well, and yeah, okay, maybe it wasn't your dream job, but it was working, it was paying your bills, it was allowing you to live a really nice lifestyle. And what I'm noticing this year is that a lot of people come to this crossroads where they realize this is no longer possible anymore. The job that used to make me feel safe, that used to satisfy me, is no longer doing that. And whether that is that you're getting fired, or fired is such a harsh word, whether they're like letting you go, the company isn't doing anymore. Also, what I'm seeing a lot is that companies that have been built on inauthentic or salesy or preachy tactics and methods, where there's just, oh, it's just a company to get something, to get money or to make money, but there's no true value behind it. They're struggling. And now they notice, okay, we have to stand out somehow, and we have to have a customer-centric approach where we're really going into the minds and the needs of the customer. What could they need, and how can we tailor it to keep them happy, and with that as customers. I'm experiencing it as well, that like for me also a job is ending this year. Technically it's next year, but I got the news this year, and it's just the universe is all pushing us out of the comfort zones where we hid behind because it was fine, it was cool. And now it's not even that it's a little nudge, it's I'm gonna kick your fucking ass. I'm gonna rip the carpet of your comfort zone away. The job is gone, the relationship is gone, the home is gone, whatever it is. I feel like we're standing at this cliff, and we're looking down, and the cliff is like grumbling under our feet. We're like, fuck, this whole thing is gonna collapse. And I think nobody really knows what's about to happen. I have like glimpses of the future, and I can see it and I can feel it. And I think this is also a big reason why I sometimes feel melancholic. If you watch my vlog, I talk about the process of me going through like feeling. I sometimes get like pieces of information of the future, and then I feel it in my body, and I get really sad because I know that there's gonna be a change, there's gonna be a loss, there's gonna be a transformation needed in order to adapt to that new reality. And this feeling kind of lingers for a few days or even weeks until I have clarity, and I'm like, oh my God, it's that. I had my first, like in the beginning of the year when I was in Bali, when I realized that social media it's gonna change. What I see is it's gonna lose the attractiveness because the authenticity won't be there anymore. People will just want to be focused on themselves. They want to be connected in the real world. They want to be in nature. They want to be doing their things. And when I realized that at the beginning of the year, oh my God, I had a really intense depressive episode for 2-3 weeks because I didn't have a solution yet. I only got the information that it's gonna change, and that I had to process that. And it was so hard for me to put it into words. And now like this whole year I've been thinking about what's my role in all of this. And I'm a 5th line, I'm a 3-5 in human design. I like talking to strangers. I like meeting new people. I'm not a fourth line that likes to be with the same kind of people. Not, I'm exaggerating, but like 24/7, and that is just happy to have their tribe and here and there. I'm a very loyal friend, and I have a very stable friend circle, but I always have people that like come and go, and like it flows. And for me, looking at the future and seeing how everything is going to become more local versus how global it is right now, and how it's maybe playing more into my needs and my desires as a fifth line, because as I said, I like to talk to strangers and work. How can you do that in the internet? And I like to keep things a little bit impersonal. Like, I feel so much more comfortable talking to this camera right now and telling you my thoughts and my life story than sometimes doing it in person. And that's just, if you're a fifth line, you will probably understand how that feels. And if you're not, then maybe you don't. But yeah, with this shift, a lot of thoughts and fears came up, and I was like, okay, how is that gonna work out? And I still don't fully see it, but that much I know is that it is gonna change. And for me, like, I really want to put my energy into something where I can see it's gonna last and this is gonna be worth it. And because otherwise, for me, there's no point in investing in it. Capricorn Venus, Capricorn North Node, Capricorn Sun, Capricorn MC. I have so many Capricorn placements, and I don't want to, I just don't want to invest in something I can already see is gonna die, and at the same time it's still there, and I don't want to just sit around and not do anything just because I see that it's not gonna last. So this is like my constant inner battle of, okay, I know this. It's almost when you're staying in a relationship, even though you know that relationship is gonna end, it's a constant push-pull dynamic between stay in the present moment, it's going to end, but just go through it and take it day by day. And that for me is a really big change in how I'm thinking. And that is what's going to be the future. Not thinking too much about, oh my God, in 10, 20 years, like this is my investment strategy, but it's going to be more focused on what feels good in the moment and then doing that. And obviously within that, still having a vision and wanting to build something. I can see a lot of new communities come up, and it's almost like little countries, like within each country, and maybe even countries are gonna disappear. And it's just gonna be communities like in Asterix and Obelix, where you entered that little community and then they have a board with rules, and then it says, okay, we're a naked community, we do this and that and whatever it is. Like, it's such unique ways of living. That's what I see is gonna happen. And that's why so many people, like, we've basically lived life, not everyone, but so many people in the Western world have lived the same lives. And if you think about how unique we are, how unique our needs are and our interests, isn't it only logic that it's time that we are aligning our lifestyles to what works for us, based on our skills, based on our energy levels? Again, looking at your human design energy type. And I see that coming. And that's also why I didn't feel inclined to buy property, because for me everything is currently rearranging. We're in this transition period where so much is going to change, and I don't want to invest in something that gives so much limitation to me, like a loan and like paying that off, without knowing and seeing that this is going to be the future. And if you have your North Node in the 4th house, if you have Cancer North Node, whatever house, or you feel like, oh man, but I want to buy a house. This is not to say that you can't do that, because there's still within everything that's happening, as I said, it's going to be so much more individual. There's not going to be this, oh, this works for everyone. I'm talking about big picture shifts, not about your individual personal situation. That really depends on your chart, that depends on your desires, on your experiences and your needs. I am a big picture person. And that always helps. I see the vision of something. If I see where we're going, then I can align my actions accordingly, and that makes me feel empowered. Again, I don't know if I said it before, but in human design, there's different filters that people see the world through. And as a projector, for me, one of the most important gifts is my seeing. If I can't see clear because something's not adding up, or maybe I'm not connected to my intuition, or I don't have enough time to ponder and reflect, something's wrong in my life, because I need to do that. And that's why I spend a lot of time alone in order to arrange my observations. But I have probability perspective in human design. And that basically means that from the options that are currently present, I can see where the energy is going to flow, like what's likely going to work out or going to keep growing and keep developing, and what is a trend that is not going to survive. And this is not to say that I am like a fucking, I have all of the wisdom and all of the answers. I'm just sharing my perspective and what I'm seeing. And maybe it helps someone and they relate to it, and it helps them to understand why so many things are shifting right now and why they maybe feel confused. It's because there's so much movement right now. So many things are going out of the structure and out of the rigidness, and they're just moving. And the energy is going to be so much more flowy, and that is a completely new way of living, and we have to adjust that, and it's absolutely normal. And that is why human design got, according to Ra-Uru, the founder of the human design system, got put on this earth to help people live satisfied and live a happy life and know how to navigate this new era where everything seems to be uncertain, and teaching people how to make decisions with their intuition as their self based on what works for them. And that is basically the huge gift that human design is, and why I would encourage everyone who feels called to study it, at least to, I mean, if you feel called to study it, I don't even have to tell you, then you feel called. But for me, it's been a game changer. I don't think I would be the person I am today if I didn't know about my human design. I have a tendency to get quite very melancholic and lose hope for the future, and that can make me really depressed at times. And human design was one of the tools that has helped me to understand why I am the way that I am and how I can get out of these thinking loops. And I'm getting really emotional only talking about it, because I don't think if I would be still here if I didn't have that knowledge, because I felt so seen and so understood. And especially when everything is uncertain, or maybe you don't have friends right now that understand you, and you can't afford a therapist, or maybe you are with a therapist or a coach or a mentor, and even with them you don't feel understood. Astrology and human design is such helpful tools that make you feel so seen, that eventually you'll be like, okay, you're still listening to people and you take in their opinions, and at the same time you're just like, okay, that's your perspective, but if it doesn't feel true in my body, I'm not going to adopt it. I'm not going to live by it. By the way, if you are interested in learning more about your human design and your theme for your next year, I have the Hopeful Spouse workshop, which you can find in the show notes. It's basically a personalized manifestation ritual that helps you to understand which area of your life needs to be upgraded and how you can do that in alignment with supportive thoughts versus feeling a lot of resistance. And that's what you're going to learn in that Hopeful Spouse workshop. I am a huge fan of teaching people how to apply human design to their life. And that's why you're doing an exercise and a manifestation ritual. There's a 1-hour audio from me where I'm explaining the theme of the year and your human design motivation. And you have a PDF where there's a ChatGPT prompt that helps you to personalize the description of your theme for the year, as well as really good questions you can always ask yourself whenever you feel like, I don't know if I'm thinking correctly about this topic. And then you can ask that question to see if your thoughts are supporting you in reaching that goal or not. Okay, so this is it from me. I don't have anything else to add. I never know what to say at the end. This is basically it.